Welcome to Unbelievable Stories. Today's story is full of shocking twists and real drama. Subscribe and like to stay updated. Let's dive in.
3 years ago, my whole life almost came crashing down. It was a bright July evening, and although my life as I knew it ended that night, I'm just now beginning to understand the consequences. Let me clarify. My name is Adam Fulton, and I'm 39 years old, 62 and 175 pounds. I have two daughters, Sophia, 15, and Olivia, 18, and I married my beautiful wife, Lily, who I affectionately referred to as my pixie. We met in high school when she was 411 and only grew to 50 by the time we married in college, but I adored her and still do. After our first child, Clara, was born, I suggested to Lily that she get a pixie tattoo so she'd always be my pixie. She agreed, and we chose a design similar to a fairy, but with a more elegant look and a flowing blue gown. The pixie had fiery red hair, just like my wife. Clara took after Lily, petite and spirited, but incredibly talented. She mastered multiple instruments, becoming first chair clarinet at 15 and switching to violin at 18, where she excelled once more. Sophia and Olivia. The night my world was shattered was right after a concert at Clara's middle school. Lily had waited for Clara while Sophia, Olivia, and I went to get the car. I was just pulling up into the drop-off circle when I heard sirens. I looked around, got out of my car, and stood watching as a mid-70s Camaro came roaring down the street, being chased by at least 10 police cars, sirens blaring, lights flashing, and tires screeching. The Camaro driver swerved to avoid it. I dashed back to the car, grabbed my bag, and told the girls to stay put. I'd be back as soon as I could. I screamed Lily's name as I rushed forward. I work as an accountant for a large state agency, and part of my job is to be a first responder for my department. I've had all the EMT training, so I can help until emergency responders arrive. A young cop tried to get me to move back, but I told him I was an EMT and insisted on helping. I was still scanning the area for Lily or Clara when I spotted a leg with rivulets of blood running down. The ankle was exposed and I saw the tattoo. My vision went black and I collapsed. An EMT on the scene said I crumpled to the ground and they dragged me off to the side. I guess I was out for a few minutes before I woke up screaming no, then just cried and beat my head. My inner self soon came to the surface and I stood up, saying, "Why me?" I tried to rush to my love's side, but I was restrained by a couple of police officers. One of my fellow EMTs, Sam, who was also a close friend, came over and slapped my face. "Adam, get a hold of yourself," he said. "We've seen this all before." But I replied, "Lily and Clara are under that car. I can see Lily's pixie tattoo." Sam pulled me to him and let me cry. Sam had a difficult past. He had been through a bitter divorce and lost custody of his daughter. His ex-wife, Laura, had accused him of abuse, but no charges were ever filed. It was an ugly, drawn-out fight. Even though I supported Sam through his ordeal, I never imagined I would end up in my own devastating situation. Afterward, Sam led me to our car, where I had to break the news to Sophia and Olivia that their mother and sister were gone. They were devastated, and we sat there crying for what seemed like hours. The police later told us that the teen driver of the Camaro was found dead at the scene, strangled by his seatbelt when the car flipped. He was a known troublemaker, and his family had no insurance, so justice was never truly served. Sam forced me to see a doctor, who prescribed medication to help alleviate my symptoms, but I was still a shell of myself. I went to work, came home to prepare meals for the girls, and cried myself to sleep when I could. 2 years after that awful night, Sam grabbed my arms and shook me. "Adam," he whispered, "you need to start living again. Sophia and Olivia need their father. Lily would want you to be strong for them." Something within me broke, and I realized I was slowly losing my kids, who were sinking into despair. For the first year following the accident, we would frequently snuggle up and weep ourselves to sleep on the sofa, but now it was time for a change. Summer had just begun, so I decided to take 2 weeks off work for a much-needed break. My boss, Mark, was understanding and told me to take the time I needed. That evening, I asked the girls where they wanted to go on vacation, and the unanimous answer was Disneyland. I called Sam, who had bought a car dealership and had the freedom to leave at any time, and suggested we take the girls to Disneyland together. He agreed, and everything was set within a few hours. We flew out of Dallas International Airport and arrived in Florida a few hours later. Our vacation rental was a suite with several bedrooms, a living area, and a kitchen. It was the ideal design, near enough to Disneyland for easy access yet far enough away to provide some privacy. The trip was going well until a TSA incident at the airport left Sophia injured and embarrassed when a security agent's harsh pat-down caused her first period to start unexpectedly. I filed a complaint with the authorities, who seemed genuinely concerned, and I began documenting everything as evidence. With Sam's help, we contacted lawyers to pursue a case against the TSA agent and Homeland Security, hoping to get some justice for Sophia. After settling into our holiday rental, I contacted Mark and told him of my decision to quit the state agency permanently. Sam had given me a position overseeing the accounting and investment side of his new business, and the timing was ideal. I needed a change, and the girls deserved a new beginning. During the trip, a chance encounter with a flight attendant named Amelia opened a new chapter in my life. She had helped Sophia during the incident and had an undeniable warmth about her that reminded me of Lily. Over time, I grew closer to Amelia, and when the girls suggested inviting her to our home in Texas, I decided to give it a shot. Amelia turned out to be more than simply a reassuring presence. She had a depth and compassion that made me fall in love again. It wasn't long before I proposed and she accepted, restoring hope and joy to our lives. Looking back, I realize I had been given a second chance at happiness. The girls needed a mother, and I needed a partner to share my life with. Though Lily and Clara will always hold a special place in my heart, Amelia is helping us build new memories. Sometimes the right person comes along when you least expect it, and I will be eternally grateful for the second chance at love. Amelia and I returned from our trip with the girls feeling re-energized, and we set about building our lives together. I took on a new role at Sam's investment firm, which came with a steep learning curve, but it felt good to be challenged again. The firm had a solid foundation thanks to Sam's careful management, but there was plenty of work to do as we expanded our client base. I found myself throwing my energy into the business, rediscovering the drive I'd lost years ago. Amelia quickly settled into our lives in Texas. The girls adored her and began looking to her for guidance on things they didn't want to bother their father with. Her gentle approach made it easy for them to confide in her, and soon enough, she was taking them shopping, assisting with homework, and listening to their teenage woes. It was a relief to see them smile more frequently and hear laughter echo through the house again. It wasn't long before Amelia suggested that we renovate the house. "It's time to make this place our own," she said, hinting at the need for change without erasing the memories of Lily and Clara. We decided on a few updates: new paint in the bedrooms, redoing the kitchen, and creating a small garden in the backyard where we could relax on weekends, and it was just what we needed to transform the space from a reminder of loss into a symbol of new beginnings. Sophia, who had previously struggled to express herself after the accident, began writing short stories and even submitted one to the school's literary magazine. When it was published, she was overjoyed, and we all celebrated her achievement at her favorite restaurant. Olivia, on the other hand, joined the volleyball team and discovered a love for the sport, which gave her a new circle of friends and a healthy outlet for her energy. I wasn't the only one busy with the firm. Sam had his hands full managing the car dealership and supporting me in the office, but he found time for his own happiness. He had begun dating a woman named Grace, a flight attendant who had been Amelia's roommate back in Florida, and she had the same quick wit and charm that made her easy to fit into our group. When Grace came to visit, it felt like she'd always been a part of the family. Every day, Amelia and I grew closer, and the love we shared felt like a balm, healing the wounds of the past. I remember one evening, after we had finished planting a new flowerbed in the backyard, she turned to me with a smile and said, "I think we should talk about a wedding date." The question wasn't unexpected, but hearing it still made my heart skip. "I've been thinking about it, too," I replied, and we began planning our future. We set the date for late spring, almost exactly 3 years after that tragic night. It was important for us to have a celebration of life and love that didn't overlap with the painful memories. We chose a small, intimate ceremony in a botanical garden near our home, and the girls wanted to be involved in every detail, from picking the flowers to choosing the music. Sophia even wrote a poem that she planned to read during the ceremony, while Olivia helped Amelia choose. The day had finally arrived, and as I stood at the altar, waiting for Amelia, I felt a wave of emotions: love, joy, gratitude, and even a touch of sadness. I knew Lily and Clara were with me in spirit, and I could almost feel their blessing. When Amelia walked down the aisle in a simple white gown with a light pink ribbon at her waist, I was overwhelmed by how beautiful she looked. Her red hair shone like fire under the sunlight, and her green eyes sparkled with happiness. Sophia read her poem with a steady voice, and Olivia gave a toast at the reception that made everyone laugh and cry at the same time. When Amelia and I had our first dance as husband and wife, I felt a sense of peace that I hadn't felt in years. The ceremony was everything we had hoped for: simple, heartfelt, and surrounded by the people we loved most. In the months following our wedding, life continued to find its rhythm. Amelia began teaching part-time at a local school, sharing her passion for literature with young minds. The girls were thriving. Sophia was working on her first novella, and Olivia made the varsity volleyball team. The house renovations were finished, and our garden thrived, with new flowers blooming each season. Amelia and I welcomed our first child, a boy named Daniel, about a year after we married. Sophia and Olivia were overjoyed to have a baby brother, and they took turns helping out, eager to take on the role of big sisters. The house, which had once been so full of grief, was now filled with the sounds of children playing and laughing. Looking back, I realized that the journey from loss to love was not easy, but it was one that taught me the value of resilience and the power of hope. Lily and Clara would always be a part of our story, but Amelia, Sophia, Olivia, and Daniel were the future. Together, we had built a life that honored the past while embracing new beginnings, and I was profoundly grateful. Daniel was a bundle of energy, always curious and reaching for anything within his grasp, and he kept Amelia and me on our toes, but we treasured every sleepless night and early morning. Balancing a blended family brought new dynamics to our household, and adjusting to life with a newborn added a layer of beautiful chaos. Sophia and Olivia took to being big sisters with surprising ease. Sophia, with her gentle and nurturing spirit, was often the one who could calm Daniel down during his fussy moments. She'd sit by his crib, telling him stories or playing lullabies on her guitar, the same one Lily had once played. It was a bittersweet sight, but also a comforting reminder of how life moves forward. It was as if Daniel brought out a new depth in each of us, bonding us even closer as a family. Olivia, on the other hand, loved to play the role of the fun older sister, always making Daniel laugh with silly faces or teaching him how to high-five. She thrived in her role as the protective sibling, and it wasn't uncommon to see her pushing him in a stroller during our neighborhood walks or chasing him after he toddled off to explore. The years flew by, and before we knew it, Daniel was old enough to start preschool, Sophia was nearing the end of high school, with plans to study creative writing at a local university, and Olivia had her sights set on earning a sports scholarship to play volleyball in college. Watching them grow up was bittersweet. Time seemed to pass in the blink of an eye. I felt proud and sad at the same time, knowing they were stepping into their own lives, but grateful for as the girls became more independent, Amelia and I found ourselves with more time to focus on our relationship. We began to travel more, taking the occasional weekend trip to the mountains or a spontaneous visit to the coast. One summer, we took the entire family to a cabin in Lake Geneva, and for a week, we disconnected from work, school, and the pressures of daily life. We hiked, fished, and built bonfires on the beach. The suggestion surprised me, but I could see the longing in her eyes. We had 3 wonderful children already, and I hadn't considered expanding our family further. But as I watched the firelight dance in Amelia's gaze and felt the warmth of Daniel's small hand in mine, the thought of another baby didn't seem overwhelming, it felt like the natural next step. We were overjoyed to find out that Amelia was pregnant a few months later. The pregnancy brought a different set of emotions than when we were expecting Daniel. Now, with our older children so much more mature and aware, it felt like a journey we were all taking together. Sophia and Olivia attended ultrasounds, helped paint the nursery, and even debated baby names with us. Daniel, on the other hand, was mostly excited about becoming a big brother and didn't understand Amelia gave birth to our daughter, Amelia, in late autumn, and she arrived with a full head of dark hair, just like mine, and bright blue eyes. Holding Amelia for the first time was a profound moment for me. It felt like a bridge between the past and the present, like life had come full circle. I thought about Lily and Clara again, and I could almost feel their presence, as if they were watching over us. Life with 4 kids wasn't easy, but it was filled with love, laughter, and a sense of fulfillment I hadn't known was possible after so much loss. Amelia's love and strength were the anchors that kept our family steady, and I made it a point to treasure the little moments, like early morning cuddles with Amelia, watching Sophia and Olivia's volleyball games, or reading bedtime stories to Daniel. As the years passed, our family expanded in more ways than one. Sam and Grace had married, and they had a baby boy named Noah not long after Amelia was born. It was wonderful to see Sam finally find the happiness he deserved. We often joked about how our family vacations now required more planning and larger accommodations with all the kids running around. Since I took over the accounting side of the business while Sam focused on investments, the firm has grown steadily, prompting us to open a second office. The work was challenging but rewarding, and I felt like I was not only rebuilding my life but also creating something meaningful for my children to be proud of. As Amelia and Daniel grew older, the girls moved out for college, each determined to pursue their dreams. Sophia's writing career took off, with her first novel published by the time she was 24, and Olivia went on to play collegiate volleyball and earn a degree in physical therapy. It was strange to see the house gradually become quieter without the girls around, but we were immensely proud of the women they were becoming. After Amelia and I had put Amelia and Daniel to bed, we sat on the back porch and watched the sunset. "Can you believe how far we've come?" I said, taking her hand. Amelia smiled, resting her head on my shoulder. "It's fantastic," I assented. "The way life surprises you, even when you think you've seen everything." In that moment, I realized that our journey had been one of constant rebuilding. We had suffered so much loss, but we had emerged stronger, having crafted a life filled with new memories and experiences. There were still times when the past weighed heavily on my heart, but they no longer consumed me. Instead, they reminded me to cherish the present and hold close the love that we had found again. I grabbed Amelia's hand and we sat in quiet, satisfied to let the final light of the day fade away, knowing that no matter what happened next, we had already created something extraordinary, a family bound together not just by blood, but also by love, tenacity, and a determination to start again. Sophia, now a published author with a growing following, moved to Chicago to pursue her writing full-time, and Olivia, after completing her degree in physical therapy, took a job at a prestigious sports medicine clinic in Atlanta. As time passed, our lives continued to evolve, always moving forward but never forgetting the past. Despite their distance, the girls remained in touch. Back at home, Amelia and Daniel were growing up quickly. Amelia, with her wild imagination and artistic flair, loved to paint and draw, and her room was filled with sketches and paintings, some taped to the walls and others carefully framed. She reminded me so much of Lily in her love of creativity, and it was heartwarming to see that spark continue in our youngest. Daniel, on the other hand, had developed a passion for sports, much like his older sister Olivia. He played Amelia and I continued to nurture our relationship, making time for date nights and even the occasional weekend getaway. We were partners in every sense of the word, and our shared experiences had strengthened our bond. Every challenge we faced together, and it felt like nothing could shake the foundation we had built. But, as life often does, it had one more surprise in store for us. When Amelia was 10 years old and Daniel was 12, she began experiencing unusual symptoms such as fatigue, nausea, and a general sense of unease, which we initially attributed to the stresses of raising a busy family and the demands of her part-time teaching job. However, when the symptoms persisted, we decided it was time for her to see a doctor, and we were both shocked to learn that she was pregnant. The news came as a complete surprise, especially since we hadn't planned on expanding our family any further. But as the shock wore off, excitement quickly replaced it. We were older now, more experienced as parents, and we knew this would be a new kind of adventure. The kids were overjoyed at the prospect of a new baby, and it seemed like the entire family rallied around Amelia to ensure she had all the support she needed. Amelia's pregnancy went smoothly, and we prepared for the arrival of our unexpected blessing. This time, the girls were fully grown and involved in the process from a distance, sending baby clothes and toys, and even flying in to help with preparations as the due date approached. Olivia visited from Atlanta and painted a beautiful mural on the nursery wall, depicting a whimsical forest filled with animals and soft colors. Sophia arrived just a few weeks later. Then, on a cool autumn evening, Amelia gave birth to a healthy baby boy, Ethan, and he brought a fresh sense of joy to our lives from the moment he arrived. It felt as if the circle of our family had come around once more, adding a new chapter to our story. Holding Ethan in my arms, I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude for the path my life had taken, full of unexpected twists, but always leading me back to love. Having a baby in the house at our age was both exhausting and invigorating. It was as if we were experiencing parenthood all over again, but this time with a wisdom and patience that we didn't have when we were younger. Amelia and Daniel adored their new little brother, often taking turns feeding him or pushing the stroller during our family walks. Amelia, in particular, developed a strong bond with Ethan, delighting in every smile and babble as she helped us care for him. The addition of Ethan also brought our extended family even closer. Sam and Grace, now parents of 2, often visited for playdates, and it wasn't long before the cousins were thick as thieves, running around together and causing all kinds of joyful chaos. Our gatherings became more frequent and lively, with kids of all ages filling the house. It reminded me of my own childhood, surrounded by a big family, and I couldn't have asked for a better way for my children to grow. Amelia and I found ourselves reflecting on our journey with awe as the years passed. We had come so far from those dark days of loss, and while the memory of Lily and Clara would always be with us, we had managed to build a life full of hope, happiness, and love. It wasn't a life without scars, but the scars told a story of resilience and the strength of a family that refused to be broken. Ethan's arrival also caused a shift in our priorities, and I decided to gradually scale back my role at the firm, spending more time at home to enjoy these precious years with our young children. Amelia continued to teach part-time, finding fulfillment in shaping young minds while still being present for our growing family. We found a new rhythm, one that allowed us to savor the small moments, reading bedtime stories to Ethan, watching Daniel score goals at his soccer. Sophia met a fellow writer in New York, and they married in a small ceremony in Millennium Park. Olivia followed a few years later, marrying a colleague from the sports clinic, and they decided to settle down in Atlanta, not far from where she had built her career. It was both heartwarming and humbling to watch my daughters build their own lives and families. Looking back, I realized that the journey was never about reaching a destination, but about learning to navigate the winding roads of life with an open heart. We had faced loss and found love again, and we built a family that was a beautiful blend of past and present, with each new chapter bringing its own unique joys. Our home, which had once been a place of grief, had become a sanctuary filled with life, laughter, and limitless possibilities. As Amelia and I grew older, we knew that there would always be new challenges to face and new memories to make, but as long as we faced them together, surrounded by the love of our children and grandchildren, we were ready for whatever came next. Life had given us a second chance, and we had made the most of it. In the end, that was all we could ever want. As the years passed, our family's journey remained a blend of ordinary moments and extraordinary milestones. Ethan, now in elementary school, was a lively boy full of curiosity and charm, reminding me of the days when Sophia and Olivia were his age. He had a natural knack for storytelling, often making up elaborate tales about knights, dragons, and faraway lands. Amelia, now in high school, was coming into her own as a talente. Daniel had entered middle school and was fully immersed in sports, particularly soccer and basketball. He was one of those kids who seemed to excel at everything he tried, but what I admired most about him was his determination. He would spend hours practicing in the backyard, never discouraged by a missed shot or a lost game. It was clear that he had big dreams, and Amelia and I did everything we could to support him, whether it was driving him to early morning practices or after dinner. Amelia and I would often sit on the back porch after dinner, sharing a glass of wine and discussing the past, the present, and what might come next. It was in those quiet moments that I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for everything we had endured and accomplished. As the older kids grew up and became more independent, Amelia and I were finally able to take a step back and reflect on the life we had created together. Around this time, my decision to scale back my work at the firm became more concrete, and I began transitioning some of my responsibilities to younger partners, training them and ensuring a smooth handover. It was difficult at first to let go of a career I had spent so many years building, but I knew I had made the right decision. The pull to be more present at home was stronger than ever, and I didn't want to miss out on these precious years with our younger children. With more time on our hands, Amelia and I took up some hobbies we'd always wanted to try. I started woodworking, finding peace in the rhythm of shaping and crafting things with my hands, and I even began making small pieces of furniture for the house. Amelia, on the other hand, had always loved gardening, and now she expanded our backyard garden into a beautiful sanctuary filled with blooming flowers, a small pond, and our growing family of grandchildren was another source of immense joy. Sophia had given birth to a baby girl named Isabel, and Olivia welcomed a son named James a year later. Watching Sophia and Olivia become mothers was a surreal experience, reminding us of how quickly time passed, but also how wonderfully it continued to unfold. Family gatherings became more lively and chaotic than ever, with toddlers running around, laughter echoing through the house. And at one of these gatherings, during a warm summer evening when the kids were playing outside and the adults were enjoying the breeze on the porch, Amelia turned to me with a soft smile. "Adam," she said, "I've been thinking about something for a while now. We should take a trip, just the two of us. A real adventure." We had been thinking about traveling for a long time, but there was always something else that needed our attention: kids, work, house renovations. But now that the firm was in good hands, the older kids were settled, and Ethan and Amelia were old enough for us to leave them in Sam and Grace's care for a while, it felt like the right time. After some planning, we decided on a trip to Europe, a place we had always wanted to visit, but life had never given us the opportunity. We began our journey in Spain, exploring the picturesque streets of Madrid and the breathtaking beauty of the Costa Brava. Walking hand in hand through ancient ruins and savoring the local cuisine felt like a second honeymoon. We then traveled to Portugal, where we marveled at the art in the Louvre, wondered the road. The trip brought us closer than ever before, and we returned home feeling rejuvenated, with a newfound appreciation for the life we had built. We brought back small souvenirs for the kids, as well as countless stories about the places we had seen and the people we had met. Amelia was particularly captivated by our stories about the art in Spain and Portugal, and she began planning her own trip to study art in Europe. Daniel, on the other hand, was more interested in the stories. As the years passed, we saw more changes. Sophia's career as a writer soared, with several of her novels making bestseller lists, and Olivia became a well-respected physical therapist specializing in sports medicine, even working with professional athletes. Seeing our children achieve their dreams was a joy unlike any other. It felt like the culmination of all the years of love, hard work, and sacrifice. Ethan, with his natural storytelling abilities, expressed an interest in theater and took part in school plays, while Amelia continued to refine her artistic skills, eventually earning a scholarship to a prestigious art school. As each of the children moved on to their own lives, the house gradually quieted. But Amelia and I were never alone. Our bond had only grown stronger over the years, and we found contentment in the simple pleasures: quiet mornings with coffee in the garden, long walks together, and spontaneous road trips. The joy of being grandparents was a wonderful chapter, one in which we got to relive the magic of childhood through the eyes of Isabel, James, and the other grandchildren who followed. One evening, as Amelia and I sat on our favorite bench in the backyard, with the sun setting over the horizon, I reflected on how much had changed since that fateful night so many years ago. We had gone from a place of deep sorrow to a life full of love and fulfillment. We had found ways to honor Lily and Clara's memories while creating new ones with Amelia, our children, and grandchildren. As the sky turned from orange to deep blue, I glanced over at Amelia, who was staring calmly at the garden she had so diligently cared for. "You know," I remarked, breaking the comfortable stillness, "I never could have imagined back then that life would turn out this way." She smiled as she turned to me, her green eyes reflecting the final light of day. "That's the beauty of it, Adam. Life never stops surprising you. It always finds a way to show you that even after the darkest moments, there's still so much light to be found." And with that, we continued to sit together, hand in hand, satisfied to watch the stars emerge one by one, knowing that our story, one of love, sorrow, and renewal, would continue to unfold, as it always did, in ways we could never entirely foresee but were always glad for. As the years passed, Amelia and I discovered a rhythm that brought us a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. Our days were a blend of quiet routines and cherished family moments, with each of our children and grandchildren adding new layers to our lives. Ethan was entering high school, and his love of theater had blossomed into a full-fledged passion. He participated in every school production, from classic plays to musicals, and his natural talent for our home, which had gradually quieted as our children grew up, was now filled with laughter, art projects, and storytelling. Isabel had inherited her mother's love of writing, filling notebooks with her own imaginative stories, and James showed an early interest in sports, particularly soccer, just like his aunt Olivia. One summer, when Ethan was 16 and Amelia was home for a break from college, we decided to take a family trip to a cabin in the mountains, a tradition we had started when the kids were small and kept up whenever we could. This time, we invited Sophia and Olivia's families to join us, making it a full family reunion. The cabin, nestled among tall pine trees with a sparkling lake nearby, was a place of many happy memories for us. As soon as we arrived, the kids ran off to explore the familiar trails and the shore of the lake, while Amelia and I unpacked and settled into the cabin. It was a perfect week of bonding, with all of us under the same roof again, playing board games, roasting marshmallows over a fire, and sharing stories late into the night. There was a sense of coming full circle, of revisiting the past while creating new memories to carry us into the future. During the trip, Ethan asked if he could perform a monologue he had been working on for an upcoming audition. We gathered around the fire pit, watching as he stepped forward, the flames casting a warm glow on his face. He delivered his lines with such conviction and emotion that there wasn't a dry eye among us by the time he finished. I saw so much of myself in him, his desire to express himself, to connect with others. But I also saw the growth and change that later that evening, when I was sitting on the cabin's porch with a cup of tea, Sophia joined me. "Dad," she began, "I've been thinking about writing a book about our family. About all we've gone through, loss, love, and how we rebuilt our lives. What are your thoughts?" The suggestion threw me off guard, but after a minute, I found myself nodding. "I think it's a wonderful idea, Sophia. If our tale can assist someone else who is hurting, it is worth sharing. We've gone a long way, and if sharing it with others gives them hope, I'm all for it." We talked for a while more about the details, and I promised to help her with any memories or insights she needed. It was a profound moment to realize that our family's story, so personal and full of both heartache and healing, could become a source of inspiration for others. Sophia's writing career had already touched many lives, and this book would be a new way to honor the journey we had taken together. After the trip, as summer gave way to autumn, life settled back into its familiar patterns. Ethan continued to pursue theater with even more dedication, auditioning for roles in local productions outside of school. Amelia's art was gaining recognition, and she was preparing for her first solo exhibition. The grandchildren were thriving, and Sophia and Olivia were balancing their careers and family life with the kind of grace that made me proud. One afternoon, Amelia and I received an unexpected letter from the city informing us that the park near where Lily and Clara had died was being renovated and would be rededicated in their honor. A group of families affected by the tragedy had come together and petitioned the city council for a memorial garden to be established there. The letter invited us to participate in the dedication ceremony, which stirred up a mix of emotions. Grief, yes, but on a crisp autumn day, Amelia and I discussed the letter with the kids, and we all agreed that attending the ceremony would be a way to honor Lily and Clara while also recognizing how far we had come. The park had been beautifully transformed, with a serene garden filled with blooming flowers and a small fountain. A plaque at the entrance bore the names of the victims and a dedication to the resilience of the families who had endured that dark time. Standing there, surrounded by family and old friends, I felt the weight of the years lift in a way I hadn't thought possible. The ceremony was simple but powerful, filled with stories of remembrance and speeches about moving forward. After the ceremony, we took a quiet walk through the garden, with Amelia holding my hand and Ethan, Amelia, Sophia, Olivia, and the grandkids close behind. We stopped at the fountain, where I said a silent prayer of gratitude for the past, for the future, and for the present moment, with my family surrounding me. That night, back at home, I sat down to write my own letter to my future grandchildren, those who might one day come into our lives long after Amelia and I were gone. I wanted them to know the story of our family, not just the facts and the dates, but the love and strength that carried us through. I wrote about Lily and Clara, about meeting Amelia, about raising their parents, and about how every chapter of life, no matter how difficult, could eventually give. As I sealed the letter and placed it in a box of keepsakes, I realized that our story would live on in many ways, through Sophia's book, through the memories we had shared, and through the legacy of love that had sustained us. It was a story not only of loss and recovery, but also of growth, resilience, and the enduring power of family. As the years passed, Amelia and I embraced each new day with open hearts, knowing that life would continue to surprise us. We treasured every moment, big or small, because we realized more deeply than ever that life is about the journey and the people who accompany you. It was a journey that took us from unimaginable grief to a place of profound happiness, with each step marked by love, resilience, and the ever-present hope for what tomorrow might bring. In the end, that was the true measure of our family's story, a testament to the enduring strength of the human spirit, and a reminder that even in the face of loss, there is always room for new beginnings. Thank you for viewing this moving tale of love, grief, and new beginnings, which demonstrates that hope and healing can be found even after tragedy.